everyone. My name is Merlin Rothfeld. Welcome to Monday Morning Must Knows, and let's get you ready for the upcoming trading week. Now, of course, on Friday, we saw a nice about face from our equity markets as those unemployment numbers started to jump from 3.7. They're expected to stay there, jumped to 3.9, and that spooked the markets. The minute that report came out, markets immediately started selling off, which certainly created a little bit of a dent in the shiny, joyous market rally to the upside, including cryptocurrency. So let's start things off with what we normally do, the earnings calendar. Not a ton. There's more than there was last week, so let's get you started with our earnings calendar. 641 companies to be precise. Monday brings you Oracle and Casey's General Store. Tuesday, you've got two retailers with Kohl's and Guess. On Wednesday, you've got home builder Lenar, and then some big names on Thursday, Adobe, Dollar General, Dick's Sporting Goods, and Ulta Beauty. And on Friday, you've got Jabble reporting earnings. So not a ton of giant names, but there are some big ones in there, of course. Looking at things like Adobe and Oracle might be market bellwethers. Now, we're going to move on from the earnings calendar and shift to things which, of course, are center stage, which seems like every 4 weeks we cover on the Monday Morning Must Knows, and that is, of course, inflation. Now, we saw some of the recent numbers show a little bit of a surge up in inflation. And of course, this is a stark contrast to what the market is expecting. Market's expecting inflation to be under control. That's why you're hearing so much about rate cuts, maybe starting in March. I don't think so. I don't think we're going to get a rate cut in March. My guess is probably going to happen later on in the year, precisely because of inflationary problems. So let's go look more at inflation. Taking a peek at this chart here, you can see CPI numbers come out on Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And this chart doesn't really say too much. It's more about the recent data and what's been going on with the right-hand side of that chart. The most recent numbers, as you can see, for the previous 3 months have been higher than expectations. So showing the consumer price index numbers reflecting more inflationary pressure. Right now, expectations are that we are going to move up from 0.3 to 0.4. That's that red arrow you just saw come in from the right-hand side of your chart. Now, that isn't as elevated as we saw back in 2021 or early 2022, but it is showing a somewhat unnerving trend of inflation getting higher. So just keep your eye on that one. But wait, we're not done. We do have another piece of inflationary data coming out on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That is the PPI, or Producer Price Index. And the good news here, as you can see, obviously, for the past 4 months, it has been increasing significantly, but the expectations are we're going to stay right where we are at currently at 0.3%. So that is another interesting piece of data to keep your eye on. Both of these can be major market movers. Again, the entire Fed policy is based off of those charts. And what's going to happen with CPI, PPI, and of course the most important one, which will happen in a week or two, is the core PCE price index numbers, because inflation is one of the Fed's dual mandates. Remember, it's employment and it's inflation. Well, it's keeping the price of goods and services stable, which of course is inflation. So that is your biggest announcements for the week, but I do have some more. Let's kick it over to our next piece, which is going to be even more consumption, retail sales. And this one I think is going to be really interesting. Notice that for all intents and purposes, it pretty much fluctuates above and below zero there with some regularity, most of the data being above zero, showing that there is an increase in retail sales. The previous month, though, you can see was a negative 0.8. One of the sharpest declines we've seen since early 2023. So all in all, not looking great, but still, maybe there's some hope that it's going to get better. And the fact of the matter is, the expectations are better. It was negative 0.8. Here's where we're expected to come out at the next reading is 0.08, which we haven't seen since February of 2023. So basically going another year back in time, do we get that nice jump up in retail sales, which of course, as we've talked about many times on this program, economy is driven by consumption. We are driven by sales and business and growth. So retail sales numbers being a good indication as to what those consumer numbers have looked like. Now, to be fair, we have seen some retailers report this past week with some really good numbers. And of course, I think that may lead most people to believe that retail sales numbers are going to be higher. Don't forget, we do have Kohl's and Guess reporting this week, as well as several other smaller retail companies. So that's what we've got on plate for the week ahead. You've got some nice earnings announcements. You have inflation data on Tuesday and Thursday, and you also have retail sales numbers coming out on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That, my friends, is your Monday Morning Must Knows. We will see you next week.